Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are opening the hood on the complex infrastructure that really makes decentralized finance work.
Or at least how it's supposed to work.
Exactly. We're plunging into the world of cross-chain interoperability, and we're going to focus on a really game-changing piece of tech known as atomic swaps.
So our mission for you today is a deep analysis of these non-custodial exchange protocols. We're going to look at how they actually work, the cryptographic guarantees they rely on, and then how real-world platforms like SWFT blockchain are applying this.
And maybe most critically, how the, let's face it, chaotic global regulatory landscape of 2024 is trying to catch up with tools built specifically to bypass that kind of control.
It's a real cat and mouse game.
It is. So let's start at the beginning. The core limitation of that first wave of blockchain. You look at Bitcoin, early Ethereum, they were powerful, but they were walled gardens.
Right, silos. You basically had two massive intertwined problems.
Limited interoperability.
And limited scalability. And that scale problem is just, it's critical context for this whole discussion.
And it sets the whole stage.
It really does. You see this massive bottleneck. Bitcoin's historical average is stuck at around, 7 transactions per second?
7, yeah.
Now, compare that to something like Visa.
It's not even in the same league.
Not even the same sport. Visa handles a global average of 24,000 transactions per second. So that capped throughput, plus the fact you couldn't easily swap assets between chains, that really defined the first decade.
And because you couldn't trustlessly trade your Bitcoin directly for, say, Ripple or Litecoin or whatever.
Yeah, you were forced into these centralized third parties.
The legacy exchanges.
Exactly. And this immediately introduces just a massive array of counterparty risks.
Because you're funneling everything through one central point.
It's a honeypot, a single point of failure. It's vulnerable to hacks, it's got high transaction costs, and is completely subject to, regulatory whims or even just dishonest management.
You're trusting someone else with your keys.
Even if it's just for a moment, that's the risk.
So, if I want to swap my BTC for your XRP, what we really want is a guarantee.
A guarantee, yes.
Either the swap happens instantly, simultaneously for both of us, or nothing happens at all. Our funds just stay safe in our own wallets.
Precisely. And that is the elegant solution here. Atomic swaps. It's a protocol designed for just that. Peer-to-peer, wallet-to-wallet transfers between two completely different blockchains.
With no centralized custodian in the middle?
The technology is the middleman.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. That name, atomic.
Right.
It's not about tiny particles. The term is borrowed, right? From computer science.
From database theory, yeah. It refers to atomicity. It's a guarantee that a transaction is indivisible.
Indivisible.
It has to occur completely, every single step of the contract, or it has to be fully reversed. That's how you eliminate the counterparty risk.
But this didn't just appear out of nowhere. There was a history here.
Oh, yeah, we need to acknowledge that. Back in 2012, there was this early concept called P2P Trade X, a precursor.
A conceptual precursor, yeah. But it was incomplete. It lacked a crucial safety mechanism. If Alice, let's say, initiated a swap and sent her funds, but Bob then just denied the transaction or went offline.
Alice was just out of luck. Her funds were committed and she was completely vulnerable.
Exactly. So if the tech didn't guarantee that atomicity, it just wasn't a solution.
The real breakthrough then was Tier Nolan's concept of the atomic swap, which was introduced in May 2013.
And that's what added the necessary cryptographic safeguards to make the whole procedure truly simultaneous and, crucially, fully reversible.
But here's a fascinating little nugget from the sources. That concept was from 2013.
Yep.
The first known successful execution of an atomic swap didn't happen until 4 years later.
September 2017, between Decred and Litecoin.
4 years. If the concept was fully defined in 2013, why such a long delay?
Well, it really speaks to the complexity of bootstrapping new consensus rules across completely different blockchains. The underlying chains themselves had to be modified.
They needed upgrades. They need upgrades to support the fundamental mechanism that creates the guarantee. And that mechanism is the hashed Timelock contract, the HTLC.
Ah, the engine room. So the HTLC is the core cryptographic smart contract that makes this all possible.
It's a fusion of two very specific features, a standard cryptographic hash function
and an imposed non-negotiable time delay.
Let's walk through it. The classic Alice and Bob example is probably the best way to see how the HTLC works.
Okay. Alice wants Bob's XRP, and Bob wants Alice's BTC.
So Alice kicks things off. She secretly chooses a random value, a secret number. We can call it the pre-image, or X.
And she calculates its hash, HX. She shares only the hash with Bob, not the secret.
Correct. Then Alice locks her BTC into a contract address on the Bitcoin chain. And this contract says very specifically, Bob can claim this BTC only if he reveals the secret value X.
And here comes the time component.
Right. Alice's contract includes a lengthy time delay, say 48 hours. If Bob hasn't claimed the funds with X by the time that 48 hours is up, Alice can just reclaim her BTC. That's her safety net.
So Bob sees Alice's contract is set up, he sees her commitment, and now it's his turn.
He sets up his own contract. Using the exact same hash, Bob locks his XRP into a contract on the XRP chain. And his contract says, Alice can claim the XRP only if she reveals that same secret value, X.
But, and this is the key part, he imposes a shorter time delay.
Much shorter, let's say 24 hours. If Alice hasn't claimed the XRP after 24 hours, Bob can just take his funds back. This shorter window is critical. It forces Alice to act.
So this is the moment of truth. Alice wants the XRP. To get it, she has to claim Bob's funds by using and therefore revealing the secret value X on the XRP network.
And because both contracts use the same cryptographic secret, the moment she successfully claims her XRP, she has basically broadcast that secret value X for the entire world to see.
Which means Bob, who's been watching,
Watching the network, instantly sees that now public secret value X. He grabs it and he uses it to unlock Alice's initial BTC contract.
completing his side of the exchange.
And that shorter time lock, the 24 hours on his side, ensures Alice is incentivized to move quickly, which guarantees Bob has plenty of time, the other 24 hours, to claim his BTC before the original 48-hour window on Alice's contract closes.
So the worst case scenario for either of them is simple. Time runs out and they both just walk away with their original funds.
It truly is atomic. It either settles completely or it fully reverses.
And that whole procedure, that describes the on-chain atomic swap.
Right, where every step is recorded on the public blockchains, which, can be a bit slow. That technological evolution then quickly led us to off-chain atomic swaps.
Which leverage layer 2 solutions.
Most famously, the Lightning Network for Bitcoin, to move the transactions into private payment channels.
How does moving it off-chain suddenly make it instantaneous? Does the HTLC still apply?
It absolutely does, but instead of broadcasting all the transaction details to the whole public network, they happen super fast within established payment channels between the parties. The HTLC is still the governor, but only the final netted result gets committed back to the main blockchain.
And that architecture allows for speeds that can actually rival legacy systems.
It's a huge leap. But to make any of this work, on-chain or off, our sources list 3 fundamental requirements for the chains. First, both chains have to support the same cryptographic hashing function.
Makes sense.
Second, they both need to support the ability to write and execute time-locked contracts. If a chain can't enforce that 48-hour delay, the whole thing just falls apart.
And third,
they need specialized programming functions, things like Bitcoin SegWit or the building blocks of the Lightning Network itself. Without those foundational capabilities, this kind of trustless cross-chain trading is it's technically impossible.
So let's move from the theory to the real world. A platform that's built its whole ecosystem around these ideas. SWFT blockchain.
Right, which stands for Smart Worldwide Financial Technology. It's a multi-service platform that's really trying to make these complex swaps user-friendly.
They have a whole ecosystem.
A pretty comprehensive one. We should probably clarify the jargon. They have the SWFT Chain Swap. That's their core engine. It covers over 800 cryptos across more than 50 public chains.
And then they also offer OmniBridge and SWFT Bridgers,
which acts as a DX aggregator, a decentralized exchange aggregator.
Okay, so what's the difference? Why do I need an aggregator if the core swap engine is already using atomic transfers?
Well, the aggregator, Bridgers, is designed to find you the absolute best price, even if that price means splitting your trade across multiple DXs outside the SWFT ecosystem.
So it's about liquidity.
It's about ensuring optimal liquidity and minimal slippage. It's leveraging all available sources, not just their own.
What's truly fascinating and a huge area of growth for them is their integration of AI.
This is a big part of their pitch. They claim to use sophisticated machine learning models, specifically recurrent neural networks, or RNNs, to predict price fluctuations and suggest the best strategies.
Why an RNN specifically? We should probably press on that.
Well, RNNs are highly specialized. They're optimized for sequential data things like time series, market history, price movements. They're designed to remember previous data points in a sequence to inform future predictions.
Which makes them, at least in theory, better suited for volatile market forecasting than a simpler model.
Exactly. And they've married this with a consumer-facing AI. They integrated an OpenAI-powered GPT plugin right into the Bridgers platform.
To give real-time market analysis and recommendation.
Right, streamlining the user experience. Their native asset is the SWFTC utility token. It's an ERC20 token, also on other chains, and its utility is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Transaction fees and discounts.
And they've used those discounts as a really powerful incentive. They recently slashed their standard swap fees from 0.3% down to a very competitive 0.1%.
And for the serious users, if you hold 500,000 SWFTC, you get this ultra-low rate of 0.05% per swap. That's a huge cost advantage for high-volume traders.
However, we have to address the significant elephant in the room with SWFT.
Centralization.
Centralization. A security audit conducted by CerTIC flagged a major centralization risk.
And this is the core tension for any system claiming to be decentralized.
So what was the specific risk that CerTIC flagged?
The audit noted that the platform's core operation relies very heavily on owner account keys that have the privilege to freeze assets or unilaterally upgrade contracts.
So it's not a flaw in the swap contracts themselves?
No, so swap tech is sound. But the centralized control is a single point of operational risk. CerTIC recommended the team renounce control over those owner accounts as a long-term fix.
And the SWFT team declined.
They declined.
That refusal is a huge insight for any user. It tells you that despite using this amazing decentralized swapping tech, the operational security of the platform still relies on the integrity and security of a very small group of centralized key holders.
If those keys are compromised, user assets are at risk. It fundamentally undercuts the whole trustless nature of the underlying swap technology.
And that tension between the tech's capability and the need for centralized control is the perfect segue into the global regulatory landscape, which has been extremely volatile in 2024.
To say the least, 2024 was really defined by these twin macro forces. You had the rising tide of institutional acceptance.
The US and Hong Kong approving spot Bitcoin ETFs.
And at the same time, this rising pressure from regulators reacting to huge enforcement actions, like FTX paying $12.7 billion to the CFTC.
And we're seeing an urgent pace of change. Our sources show that nearly 70% of jurisdictions made real, tangible progress in implementing new regulatory frameworks this year.
But here is the central unyielding conflict. Atomic swaps, especially the faster off-chain versions, intentionally remove the centralized exchange.
Which is the exact entity regulators rely on for oversight.
It's their choke point. Regulators need that choke point to implement Know Your Customer, KYC rules.
Verifying identity.
And anti-money laundering, AML procedures. When you use a peer-to-peer, wallet-to-wallet atomic swap, those safeguards are just circumvented.
And critics are specifically worried about the off-chain swaps, right?
They are. Since those transactions happen so fast in private channels, the details are often consolidated. Only the final netted result hits the public ledger. If a large portion of global swap activity moves into those private channels, tracking illicit finance becomes vastly more difficult.
It could fuel the growth of unregulated illicit markets.
That's the fear.
Let's look at some of the major implementation waves this year. In Europe, the big story has been the implementation of MiCA.
The Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation. It's a massive harmonization effort. The rules for stablecoins became effective in June, and the comprehensive regulations for crypto asset service providers, or CASPs, are set to be enforced starting in December 2024.
And a CASP is basically any entity providing services related to crypto. Custody, exchange, transfers.
It's a very broad definition.
In the United States, alongside the ETF approvals in January, we're seeing this intense legislative focus. The outcome of the upcoming U.S. election is widely expected to accelerate legislation on stablecoins and market structure in 2025.
Meanwhile, Asia is not sitting still. Hong Kong has advanced so quickly, not only approving spot Bitcoin ETFs, but also spot Ethereum ETFs.
Which signals a really deep commitment to the asset class.
They're also advancing their stablecoin regulatory sandbox, and platforms like SWFT are specifically updating their systems to comply with the stringent SFC custody rules there.
We also saw big moves in emerging markets. South Africa, for instance, licensed 138 CASPs under its 2023 framework. This is becoming a global priority, not just a Western one.
What really stands out here is the temporal mismatch. It's a mismatch of speed.
How so?
Atomic swaps offer a solution to the efficiency and cost problems of crypto today. They leverage cryptographic guarantees, the HTLC and P2P transfers, to get interoperability instantly. Meanwhile, Regulators are using legislative tools that take years to implement, scrambling to impose order on a system designed specifically for disintermediation.
It's a classic innovator's dilemma playing out in real time. And the disruptive power of this architecture, it isn't just limited to trading one crypto for another.
Exactly. And that's the final provocative thought for you to consider. What is the application of this technology beyond currency trading? The technical architecture here, this non-custodial guaranteed settlement provided by HTLCs, it could be applied directly to securities settlement systems,
Enabling cross-listing for blockchain-based stock exchanges.
Imagine empowered securities holders trading directly, peer-to-peer, without needing broker-dealers or clearing agents in the middle. That shift could completely redefine how global equity and bond markets operate, marking the next wave of radical disintermediation.